1. Aperture. Explanation. Aperture refers to the opening in the lens that controls the amount of light entering the camera. It's represented by an f-stop number, such as f2.8, f5.6, etc. A lower f-stop number corresponds to a wider aperture, allowing more light to enter, while a higher f-stop number indicates a narrower aperture, allowing less light. Depth of field. The aperture also influences the depth of the field. A wider aperture, lower f-stop, results in a shallow depth of field, creating a blurred background while keeping the subject in focus, commonly used in portrait photography. Conversely, a narrower aperture, higher f-stop, yields a deeper depth of field, ensuring more elements in the scene are in focus, ideal for landscape photography. Creative implications. Understanding aperture settings empowers photographers to control the aesthetics of their images. For instance, a wide aperture can isolate the subject from the background, drawing attention to the main subject, while a narrow aperture can capture sharp details across a vast scene. When to adjust. Low light conditions. In low light, widening the aperture, choosing a lower f-stop number like f2.8, allows more light to enter the camera, preventing underexposed images. Desired depth of field. To control the depth of the field, photographers adjust the aperture. A wider aperture, lower f-stop number, is used for a shallow depth of field in portraits or close-up shots. A narrower aperture, higher f-stop number, is suitable for landscapes, ensuring most elements in the scene are in focus. How to adjust. Use the camera's manual or aperture priority mode to change the aperture setting directly. Lower f-stop numbers, example, f2.8, or for a wider aperture, and higher f-stop numbers, example, f11, or for a narrower aperture. 2. Shutter speed. Explanation. Shutter speed refers to the duration the camera's shutter remains open to allow light onto the sensor. It's measured in seconds or fractions of a second, example, 100, 500, 1, etc. Motion control. Shutter speed controls motion blur or freeze action in a photo. A fast shutter speed, example, 1000 or faster, freezes motion, ideal for capturing sports, fast-moving subjects, or ensuring sharpness in handheld shots. On the other hand, a slow shutter speed, example, 1/30th or slower, introduces motion blur, which can be used creatively to depict movement, such as capturing flowing water or light trails. Exposure. Shutter speed also affects exposure. Longer exposure times allow more light to reach the sensor, resulting in a brighter image, while shorter exposure times limit the light, resulting in a darker image. Use the camera's manual or shutter priority mode to change the shutter speed directly. Fast shutter speeds, example, 1/500, or for freezing motion, and slow shutter speeds, example, 1/30th, or for capturing motion blur. 3. ISO. Explanation. ISO refers to the camera sensor's sensitivity to light. A low ISO number, example, ISO 100, makes the sensor less sensitive to light, while a higher ISO number, example, ISO 1600, increases the sensor's sensitivity. Understanding the interplay between aperture, shutter speed, and ISO allows photographers to master exposure settings, resulting in well-exposed, creatively framed, and sharp images, irrespective of lighting conditions or the desired visual effect. Access the camera's ISO settings, usually found in the camera menu or as a dedicated button, and adjust it to a higher or lower value depending on the lighting conditions. Be mindful of potential noise when using higher ISO settings. Balancing exposure elements. ISO is one of the three elements, aperture and shutter speed, that control exposure. If you need a faster shutter speed or a narrower aperture but the scene is too dark, increasing the ISO can compensate for the reduced light.